Welcome to another episode of College Admission TV. Dr. J.P. Novin speaks with Dr. Catherine Wehlburg, president of Athens State University, about advancing AI education and ensuring programs stay current through strong industry collaboration.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Higher Education Leader Podcast, where we're exploring AI education and the future of workforce. I want to thank our sponsor, ASU GSV, for supporting this series. And now our listeners can listen to the podcast on Spotify and also watch full episode on College Admission TV. I'm your host, JP Novin, and today I'm honored to be joined by Dr. Catherine Wehlburg, president of Athens State University. Welcome, President Wehlburg.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's a pleasure having you. So you assume leadership in 2024, right?
Yes.
Athens State is a public university, right? It's focused on transfer, degree completion for transfer and non-traditional students. You offer more than 50 majors and 40 minors, delivering flexible online and hybrid format designed to meet, lifelong learners and adult learners, if I'm not mistaken. And since taking over the university, in the way you've impacted it is an evidence-based practice, data-informed strategy is really driven by you and your team. So we would love to learn more about your background at first before we jump into all the wonderful AI questions. And if you don't mind, inform our audience about Athens State University and how it's unique in the area of in the state.
Absolutely. We are actually, Athens State University is one of only 2 institutions left in the U.S. That are focused on upper division courses and transfer students. And so we, all of our undergraduate students come in with some college credit already. So they are all transfer students in some way. Some of them are direct transfers from community colleges, and some of them have been out of college for a while. They may have gone to another 4-year institution, and they are coming back to finish their degree at the undergraduate level. We also have several master's degree programs that, again, are focused on industry connections, and we really talk about a career-connected education at both the undergraduate and the graduate levels. So Athens State, we focus on adult learners. We focus on transfer students. We have most of our students are what are often called non-traditional, in that they're older, they're employed. They often have family obligations, and so we work very hard to provide them with an education that's accessible and flexible, and will bring them to whatever the next chapter that they want in their current job or in a new role that they're looking to grow into. So in that sense, Athens State is very different from any of the other public regionals or private institutions across the state and in our area.
And how did you end up in this role? What is your background, if you don't mind sharing?
So I actually, my PhD is in educational psychology, and I have been involved in higher education always. That was my first job out of grad school. I was a faculty member. And kind of worked my way up through the ranks of administration. So I was a department chair. I have been a dean. I worked in the provost office and was an assistant provost. And when I came to Athens State about 4 years ago, I came in as the provost. And so I held that role for about 1.5 years. And then our then president retired, and so I became acting and then interim president until the board named me as the president. So I've been in that role for a little over a year, and it's been amazing. I work with great faculty and staff here at Athens State. We've got incredible community support and engagement, and and we're working really hard to make sure that we're meeting our student needs and we're helping them grow. And because of that, we've seen some increases in our enrollment, which is wonderful to see. And we've seen a lot more engagement across the state with the work that we're doing.
Fantastic. Well, this is a testament to your steadfastness as a academic, as a scholar, and as an administrator. So it's a wonderful journey. So I guess I did not know you were one of the 2 institutions that specialize in this, and this is a very good place to be given what's happening in terms of higher education. So how do you perceive the impact of AI on the future workforce of your current students? Let's focus, let's say, the next 5 years.
Well, it's I've got to pull my crystal ball out to answer that question, because that is complicated. We know, I mean, just in a few short years that AI is taking up a bigger and bigger space in what we do and how we do it. And so, we have conversations on campus and beyond all the time about not just how to teach with it, but how to help students learn to use it appropriately, so that it is helping to support our students and our workforce as a tool rather than a replacement of some of the things that we're doing. And I think that's our challenge right now, is to make sure that we're using AI and learning about and from AI, but that we are in the position of making sure that it is working for us as a tool, and that we're making choices that ensure that continued and ongoing positive work. Certainly, we've had conversations about how students may be using AI in inappropriate ways in the classroom, where they're using it as a shortcut to learning. And part of our challenge as a higher ed institution is to figure out, okay, so what shortcuts are good that we want to use, and what shortcuts do we want to not use because they aren't getting us where we want to go with that. And not everybody's on the same page with where those markers are. And so that's part of the conversations that we're looking at. One of the things I say to students is, that the jobs that they're looking at after graduation are not the kinds of jobs that AI is going to take over. But what they do need to be concerned with is somebody getting the job that they wanted because they know how to use AI, and that, knowing how to use it, knowing how to exploit the opportunities that different forms of AI can provide to us is the key.
Certainly. So AI is not going to replace you. People who know AI
Exactly
might replace you. So,
yep.
Some of your majors, I think, fair to say, they're going to be less impacted, at least students who are specializing in these majors versus others. Like elementary education and teaching, I think it's fair to say that that's here to stay for a long time. Accounting majors, well, there's a lot of accounting agentic models coming in, but you also have a lot of kindergarten, preschool education and teaching. There's some technology that you offer, but when you think about business administration and management, which is a big cohort at Athens, or liberal arts and sciences, as you think ahead, what professions or industries are, in your opinion, at risk more strongly than others in the coming 5 years?
Well, I think the ones that are at risk are ones where, for example, if we were teaching a lot of coding in computer science and all of that, if we were teaching a lot of coding or some basic technical writing kinds of things, AI can do much of that, and so I think those kinds of areas are going to be more at risk. But I think that when we look at even, you mentioned early elementary and preschool kinds of education, what if we could find ways to do more personalization of learning for our students, even at a preschool or early elementary age, not to replace the teacher, but to augment the kinds of things and the ways that we can approach how we're working with the student. And that brings up some really interesting possibilities with what we can do. So I think that are there jobs that AI is going to replace? Absolutely. Are they ones that somebody with a high quality bachelor's or master's degree are going to be in? Probably not. And so I think that the jobs that AI is going to be replacing are ones where we have to be thinking about, why is that all we're asking of that job? Can we now, with this additional tool, bring more into it to see what happens next?
Yes, certainly. And so I guess the obvious question is, what do we need to do to equip current students to have AI literacy as they enter the market? I mean, how are you thinking about your curriculum? How are you thinking about career readiness with what is to come?
And that some of that varies from program to program, and I think that some faculty take this on more so than others. But we have certainly been able to look at prompt engineering, for example, in some programs. How we can help students create the kinds of prompts that are going to be most useful, and thinking beyond just a kind of a search engine sort of way to do that. Can also help faculty with their scholarship and research in some ways. For years, if you've done qualitative research, you used systems to help you code some of that. Well, some of the generative AI can do that as well, and we can actually do it easier and more cheaply than could be done in the past with some of these systems. So I think part of what my challenge is as a president and as somebody who is deeply interested in how we are teaching our students and how we're preparing them for what happens next for them, is that we have to embed appropriate use of AI and preparation for that, the fact that it's going to change, because it's not about teaching skills. This is how you write a good prompt. Sure, that's part of it, but that is going to change. Tomorrow probably will change, and and in a year and 2 years, it's going to look very different than it does now. So really focusing on something that higher education has said for a long time, but now we really need it. We're really talking about lifelong learning. How do we make our students able to keep learning once they finished a credential or a degree, and how to keep learning, and how to recognize what that next phase of learning needs to be or needs to look like, or how to look at something and go, no, that's not going to help. That's inappropriate, but I can look over here. Yeah, that's more appropriate for me to look at. So I think that what we're really trying to do is not just focus on the AI piece, but to focus on the lifelong learning piece that our students need to have after they finish a degree program. And then we, of course, want to invite them to come back. I talk a lot about a 50-year curriculum, with the idea that our students come in, they take classes, they take our program, they may take micro credentials and stack those on top of each other, and they end up with whatever it is, that degree they leave. Well, I hope that in 5 years, when they need to look at something different, or they need to increase their knowledge in a particular area, they come back and we have another set of whether that's courses or programs that they can take, because we know that when they graduate college, no matter their age, they are not going to know everything they're going to need to know, and it's all going to change. So they have to know how to learn, and we want to be there to support them every step of the way.
That's a tremendous point that you bring up, which is learning how to learn and lifelong learning, because we're all going to be busier. We're not going to be, it doesn't seem like we're going to be less busy. It's just because now we have all of these agents and tools, and in the future, robots around us. So more is expected in terms of expertise. So as you think ahead, do you think there's going to be, I mean, this is moving, it's like a bullet train, like how AI is moving through the society. And do you think we have enough? Can we keep up? Can our regulations like HIPAA or FERPA or SEC be able to do what they're supposed to do in terms of risk assessment and compliance when it comes to the various forces in a job market that are really pushing ahead? I mean, how do you deal with, HIPAA information or FERPA information, given how fast information is moving?
Well, I think we're always going to be a little bit behind, but I think we've always been a little bit behind. And I think that we, continue to work to address changes that come up in new situations that we hadn't really thought about. And whether that's FERPA or HIPAA or even any of our state and federal laws or institutional policies, all of those, most of those are a reaction to something that happened. And so now there's a policy or a law or a procedure that's in place that wasn't before. And I think that we're going to continue to see that happen. I do think it's going to be moving faster because the pace of change is simply faster. So we've got to be more nimble. We've got to be able to look at what we think will happen next, so we can be as prepared for it as possible. I met just this morning with a group of faculty and staff, and we were talking about kind of some of these big questions that are approaching higher education. And one of the things that we were talking about was credit hours. And it's always been kind of the 120 credit hours is a bachelor's degree, and everybody knows it. And and so my question is, why 120? Why not 130? Why not 110? Now we've got 90 credit hour degree programs that are starting to become approved at some institutions. And I think that is one of the things that we've got to be able to do is not hold to something just because we've always done it this way. But we need to look at, okay, that's changed, or that's now a possibility, or I wonder why that was so important 20 years ago to whoever was making those decisions. So I think as we look at the FERPA type of requirements and HIPAA and other kinds of things, we're going to have to continue to change what that looks like and how that is done. And we're certainly doing it now with plagiarism. What does plagiarism mean? Well, with AI, plagiarism can't be the same definition most likely, because there you didn't take it from somebody else. You pulled it from, from something that was ChatGPT or, whatever. And so we've had to change some of those definitions, and we're going to have to continue changing some of those definitions to make sure that we are, that we're doing what is, at least at that moment in time, the right thing.
Well, I have listed 7 AI initiatives. And keep me honest here, you guys have been very busy. So you've introduced in your new catalog certificate in artificial intelligence. you have a course, CS385, Programmatic AI Cloud-Based ML, Machine Learning, as well as CS488 and LAI 602, Work in Artificial Intelligence. Your beloved mascot, Hebrew the bear has a Hebrew chatbot now that your AI agent that students are using. Cybersecurity and infrastructure, so your cyber lab was also got a good fund of $250,000 from state legislation. One of my favorite is the innovation and grant funding capacity for EPIC that you've received, and we do have something in common here. Your $300,000 innovation career service grant from Strata. Strata is also our first investor, actually second investor after Microsoft at Plexus as well. So we have that in common. So I'm glad to see that. A lot of stuff on OIT and on-campus, the ethics engagement. And you actually hosted a Brave New World of AI about applications. And so what is bringing all of this rich AI activity to campus? Who is doing all of this? Is it part of the vision? Is this, is it happening in silos? What's making all this happen?
So that is not a simple answer that I can give you, because it comes from so many different places. We are looking at. We also have a chat bot that is with some of our mental health screening opportunities that we provide to our students that will help them identify maybe what an issue is and put them in touch with a real person who can help them when necessary. And we actually we get updates from that periodically. If a student posts something that's concerning, we know about it immediately. But it has it provides care to students faster than humans could do that without losing that human element. And the same thing with our admissions chatbot. Students can get a lot of questions answered very, very quickly, but there's also still that human interaction that's looking across all of these things, so that if there is a question, or when a question comes up, or a concern from a student, we've got somebody who knows that pretty much immediately and can step in and respond directly, human to human, with the student. Some of our faculty, especially in the computer science and cyber areas, are bringing in AI opportunities, certainly at the classroom level and the course level, because that's what our industry partners are looking for. And so we've got our faculty who are bringing in what is needed from our industry and what our community is asking for. We've also got best practices that are changing in the ways that students enroll in courses and receive advising and all of that are so they're not all coming from the same place. We've got different things happening in different areas. And I think that's going to continue.
That's fantastic. And so as you think about, you're in Athens, Alabama, right?
Yep.
And you have, Huntsville, that whole area is there's a lot of innovation happening there. NASA is there. There's a lot of defense and engineering companies and aerospace in that region as well. So I've been to the region, so there's a lot going on in that region. And so how do you take what the industry needs and apply that to your pedagogy and strategy? Do you foresee certain classes going away or certain classes added as a result of the industry demand?
Absolutely. And we do that on a regular basis. We actually do regular program reviews with our academic programs to make sure that they are still meeting the needs that they were intended to solve. So yes, we update courses. We update programs. We add different kinds of tracks within programs that will meet specific needs of what's happening. So we are regularly updating things at the program level, at the degree level, but also at the course level. And faculty are making changes to their courses to better align with current events, current research, and the current needs of our industries.
The average students, how long do they spend? Is it a 2-year period they're transferred? Is it what is the average tenure of a student such a campus?
So if they are full-time, it is usually about 2 years. We have a lot of our students who come back who are part-time, so that takes a longer time frame to do. But it is, for the most part, many of our students come in with an associate's degree and then finish the last 2 years to get their bachelor's degree.
I see. Can someone come straight from high school, or do they need to have some credit?
They need to have some credits first. We don't offer a full range of general education at Athens State, and so now it depends. We do have more and more students who are getting a lot of dual enrollment credit, are having AP credit. So we've got students who are graduating high school and they're at the level of a junior, so we do get some students come directly to us from high school, but for the most part, they don't. And those that do come directly from high school already have some significant credit hours already kind of banked on their transcript.
So for students who are out of state, can they do this online? And what happens to their tuition? Is it the same? Is it higher? How does it work for them?
So as we've looked, we have created a similar cost for online versus in person, but there is a little bit of a higher cost for out-of-state students. As a state institution,
yes.
We appreciate the support that we get from the state that comes from tax revenues. And so if there are students who are taking classes from out of state, they don't pay more for an online course, but they do pay the out-of-state tuition just because it's not being subsidized by the state. But we do have a lot of programs that are fully online, and we have a lot of programs that have some blended aspects to them. So students might only come to campus a couple times a semester, but take the bulk of their coursework online.
So you're the perfect person to answer this next question, because there is a lot of discussions, as you know, for years, especially this past year, around accreditation. There are a lot of discussions moving towards a 3-year degree. With what's happening in AI and all the information changes and, micro credentials, do you see the degree granting process changing? Do you see any disruption in this area being created?
We're seeing that, absolutely, and that's not just because of AI. That is because industry is changing and industry needs are changing. We're also looking at other companies that are offering their own training programs that are actually valued more than a degree, because if you're going to work at Amazon, knowing how Amazon works makes you a better Amazon employee, for example, than a degree that doesn't have that. They're going to have to provide you with more training when you get in. So yes, we are seeing that other credentials are sometimes as important and sometimes more important than a degree. That being said, one of the things that we work really hard to do is make sure that there is value in that degree. So we're not just saying you should get a bachelor's degree because you should get a bachelor's degree. We're saying our bachelor's degree is going to provide you for this, 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 and this, and this is why it's important, because this will help you more than a different pathway. But we're also looking at embedding industry credentials and industry needs and micro credentials into the degree program, so that when a student graduates, they don't just, and I say just, and I've got air quotes going on if you can't see my fingers,
We see it.
just a degree, because they have the degree, but they also have a micro credential that might be most appropriate for that particular area.
That's fantastic. When you think about K-12, okay, I mean, yesterday I was talking to a university, and they said after 3-4 years, we've seen the most social and engaged entering class coming to our university. And their thought was that the COVID blip really impacted the last 3-4 years in terms of how students, even how they socialize. I mean, now that's a theory. I think psychologists and sociologists, anthropologists could really study this for years. But truly, we know social network impacts students, and we know AI is going to impact students. I know some schools are pushing back from forcing their students to write. I'm personally not confident that's going to work. I think that the pressure is just going to break the dam. It's going to be so hard to keep the genie in the bottle at this point. So how do you think K-12 and K-12, leaders and administrators should be looking at this new world with the advent of consumer AI?
Well, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
K-12 education has certainly changed a lot, and my PhD is actually in educational psychology. And so I've been involved with colleges of education in a variety of ways over time, even though I've never been a classroom teacher. But as I look at our teacher preparation programs now at Athens State, the ways that we're preparing students now in everything, not just the subject matter that they're going to be teaching, but there's, I think, even more classroom management training that is happening. Certainly AI and other kinds of technology, because when you walk into the classroom now, you don't just have a chalkboard and a set of desks. You have ebooks, and you have online versions of things, and there's all kinds of other pieces that classroom teachers need to have now. So we're mirroring some of that to prepare our students to go into those fields and those classrooms. And we know that when our students are going into their student teaching, when they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, this was really surprising to me, we know we've got to make some updates and changes. And we do that, which is one of the reasons why almost every single one of our graduates in teacher education are hired before they graduate, because there is such a high need for teachers in general. But we're seeing just such a huge need for teachers that are prepared for the kinds of things that go into what happens, because it is very different than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
So this is one of my favorite questions on this podcast, which is, as we look at industrial trends, let's go industrial revolution or automation. So we went from a agriculture industry to an industrial industry, and then we've gone now to a service industry. It's almost exactly the same switch, right? So now we might be entering into a whole new AI industrial revolution, which is moving much faster than the internet, right? And so we're seeing changes on a daily basis. And the question becomes, do we have enough? We know there's going to be jobs that are going to be created, but do we have enough, run rate to replace the jobs that are going to be lost? Whether they're drivers or they're customer service people, do we have enough run rate to recalibrate the industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I hope we do. And I think we've got a plan for that. And that's one of the other reasons why, I talk about this 50-year curriculum, is so that we are bringing students back in, so that they are they're upskilling, they're reskilling, they're gaining more information for that next challenge that's happening for them, because those are changing. Now, one of the really interesting things about North Alabama right now is that we are seeing some incredible growth in this area. The county that Athens State is in is Limestone County, and it is the fastest growing county in the state. And so what we're seeing are incredibly low unemployment rates, and that is a good thing in general, and helps to make sure that, as our students are graduating, we know that they are career ready, and they are going out, and some of them are doing it while they're still in school, whether that's through an internship or because they were already employed when they came in. So we are working to not make huge major shifts. We're working to make sure that we're making small changes as appropriate as we're moving along, so that at every step of the way, we are as up to date as we can, and leading in some ways, so that, again, our students are prepared for what's happening. And one of the ways we do that is by using advisory boards and program advisory councils, so that we have industry connected people who are looking at our programs and are saying, oh, we need this, or this is, we don't need that anymore. We need something else. And that helps keep our programs refreshed on a regular basis. And I think that's one of the ways to go about doing that, is that we're making small shifts regularly, rather than kind of holding steady and then having to make a big change in that program.
Perfect. So I guess the finale question is, what is Athens State University going to be like in 5 years from now?
Well, that's a fabulous question. We are looking at, I mentioned career connected education before, and that is something that we are working very hard to align what we're seeing in the jobs that students will actually get, that it is aligned with the education that's happening. And we're really trying to make those connections as tight as possible, so that when a student comes in and they want to do something, we want them doing that. And we want them working in it as soon as possible. We are also having some really exciting and interesting conversations with high schools and with high school students about what their pathway is going to look like through lifelong learning. Some students are graduating high school and they need to work for a while. They want to work for a while, and I think that can be great. But if we're still connected in some way, they know that when they've done that for a while and now they need something else in order to move up, that we're there for them, and we've made those connections and those relationships. Alabama's been working on a program where high school students can actually see the jobs that they want to have, what the salary levels are, what the requirements are, so that they are making decisions. Not every student, but some students are making decisions very, very early on in high school, so that they are kind of in that direction, and they are moving down that pathway, which can work very, very well, because it gives them, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I need to get there. Once I get there, this is what my expectation is. And we are still being able to leave the flexibility in for somebody who thinks they want to do one thing, but then they do it and they're like, no, I really don't like that as much, and I want to change and shift. And that is also an important piece of how we are connecting students to that lifelong learning, and that idea that we're here to help support you as you grow, into that next stage, and the stage after that, and the stage after that. So I think what I see Athens State looking like in 5 years, I think we're going to have more students come in. I think we're going to see more non-traditional students who are coming back to continue their education. But I also think we're going to see much more connection to industry, and in some ways, we're going to see some of the bright lines between education and industry blurring just a little bit, because we're going to start seeing some of that happening on all sides, where education may be happening within the industry, but industry is also happening within the educational system and process. So I think we're in for an exciting ride.
President Wehlburg, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate our conversation.
Likewise.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the College Admission TV Presidential Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll bring you another insightful conversation with a distinguished leader in higher education.